I guess we'll just start off kind of easy. Which scene? Did you just yawn? How rude is this girl? In the middle of me talking.
There's this misconception that people that seek employment benefits are lazy. They just don't want to work. They just want to abuse the system.
If you are ever interested in seeing how maybe poverty can manifest in places that are not just like Africa, this is a good movie for that.
Hello, Globies. Welcome to the World Health Investigation Podcast. My name is Jocelyn.
I'm Edna. We are young global health professionals and your hosts for the World Health Investigation Podcast.
Also known as the WHI, we will be discussing all things global health, unpacking the most controversial health and social issues,
as well as promoting new wave global health development and equity.
So, Adina, what's the tea today? What's the global health tea, huh?
Yes, so here are the news headlines that stood out to us. There's been some exciting news in the world of malaria and in Jocelyn's motherland. So, Cameroon became the first country in the world to roll out a mass malaria vaccine program. So, Cameroon is offering the RTSS vaccine free of charge to all infants up to the age of 6 months old. So patients need a total of 4 doses, and health officials say these will be given at the same time as other routine health vaccines to make it easier for parents. We love to hear it. And then according to another report by UNICEF, some pilot campaigns in Kenya, Ghana, and Malawi have been successful. And they were able to see in those campaigns that the vaccine was actually associated with a 13% decrease in mortality amongst children of the eligible age. So this could actually really work out, and it's an amazing development because if you think about it, when you have the vaccine paired together with mosquito nets and mosquito repellents and all these other things, might be an effective way of keeping mortality from malaria down and preventing further cases. And we're not even done yet. In case you even missed it, there's more good news. Earlier this month, Cape Verde also became the first African country in 50 years to officially be declared malaria-free by the WHO. I mean, it's just raining W's over in the world of malaria, and we love to see it.
Now, on to the juiciest part of the episode.
Of course. The main reason we are here. So today, we're yet again diving into a film that's just not a cinematic experience, but also a stark portrayal of the challenges faced by many in the face of bureaucracy and societal struggles. As you may remember, in the first episode of season 3, we talked about poverty, and there we mentioned the film I, Daniel Blake. Well, that's what we're here to talk about today.
Thank you for that introduction. And if you haven't watched episode 1, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
So that's right, Globies. We will start with a spoiler-free summary. We'll try our best not to spoil it for you. But listen, if you don't want to know anything, pause here and join us back once you've watched the movie. All right?
Yeah. Although personally, I feel like you can still watch the review without watching the movie because our review will not do justice to this movie. Okay? So, our story is about Daniel Blake. He is a widowed joiner who lives in Newcastle in the UK. If you don't know what a joiner was, because I didn't know, okay? My English is not that good, apparently.
Auntie.
That's just someone who does... Leave me alone. Who does woodwork and, builds staircases and all that kind of stuff.
So sadly, Daniel has a heart attack and his doctor does not allow him to go back to work. So Daniel now must apply for welfare benefits, but after a work compatibility assessment, he's deemed fit to work by the Department of Work and Pensions. But he's then also denied employment and support allowance.
It's not making sense.
It's not adding up.
Why is he said deemed to fit to work?
Pardon?
So he's frustrated and he learns that his doctor was not even consulted about this decision, and so he starts to apply for an appeal. And so here begins like a long and just frankly dehumanizing process of navigating the UK's welfare bureaucracy. Because like we said, he can't claim employment
Yeah.
and support allowance. He now needs to apply for job seekers allowance. And to apply for job seekers allowance, he needs to go fill out some form online, and he also needs to prove that he's spending at least 35 hours looking for a day. Looking for a job. 35 hours is looking for a job.
Yeah.
And so, but obviously he can't look for a job because of his ill health.
So is there even a way to win?
Yeah.
So right from the start, the film captures a man's struggle for dignity and survival within the bureaucratic maze. And it's infuriating to see how the system fails to understand the real human impact of health issues.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. The
Yeah.
circles that they just go around. So then the film takes another emotional turn because Daniel then befriends Katie, who is a single mother and she has some children. And their issues typically were just highlighting the issues faced by those living on the edge of poverty. Yeah.
So Katie could not afford safe housing for herself and her children in London. So she's a London girl. City girl. And she's forced to move to Newcastle. And because she's new to the city,
Obviously.
she gets on the wrong bus, as we all do,
Yeah.
and ends up being late for her appointment at the job center.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't done that, you know? And now apparently what I didn't know either was that, you know, being late to her appointment can actually lead to a sanction, which would mean the benefits that she wanted to claim are cut by 40%. She tries to explain this to the worker, but he just kind of gives her like rules are rules type of response. Not helpful at all. So we continue to follow Daniel and Katie as they both now try to navigate the welfare system. And I think what we're seeing was that the constant theme throughout the movie is just poverty and the struggle between this whole idea of, you know, do you take personal responsibility for escaping poverty? Or do you lean more towards, you know, the state benefits?
That's the basic plot of the movie. So Edna, without getting into spoilers,
Yeah.
This mean you can if you want to. What were your overall thoughts on the movie?
Overall thoughts on the movie, I think, you know, like I said, it's a really well-made movie. And I think it explores poverty in a way that I think is just very like gruesome and harsh. Like it just shows the reality. It doesn't
Yeah.
sugarcoat anything.
No.
It's not your feel-good type of
Feel
movie.
good,
You
no.
know what I mean?
No.
It's very harsh. And I think if you are ever interested in seeing how maybe poverty can manifest in places that are not just like Africa,
Yeah.
this is a good movie for that. What did you think overall?
I think I agree with you. I think poverty is often perpetrated in many low economically developed countries. So and it's interesting to see it somewhere like the UK, because you would think the UK has good social care services. I mean, the social care services, like there are services available,
Yeah.
but the barriers that come at play here
Yeah.
are very significant, and you may think it only affects certain brands of people. It shows how quick it can be for you to be homeless, or for you to end up being in that situation where you are battling between just living just above the poverty line.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree. So I had a few questions that I was noting down. I was just like watching the movie, and you know, feel free to also let us know your thoughts in the comments as we go along. So I guess we'll just start off kind of easy. Which scene? Did you just yawn? How rude is this girl? In the middle of me talking. Wow.
Listen, it's been a long year, okay? I'm just yawning from, like, personally, yeah, I feel like 2023, just had me there. I feel like I was telling her earlier, I'm getting old.
Wow, so if earlier you were calling me auntie and now look at you. Now look who's the real auntie.
I'll join you just for now.
Wow.
Auntie world.
We are the same age, you know.
Same-
As I was saying, yes, was rudely interrupted. Which scene in the movie stuck with you the most? Or did you sleep through the movie as well?
You know what?
Did you actually watch the movie?
Guilty admission,
Ah, you
Guilty admission, yeah. Okay, it takes you a while to get into the movie.
Right.
Like the first 5 minutes, I fell asleep.
Not the first 5 minutes.
Because I was tired. But then when I started watching it towards like the end of it, I was like, oh my, this is actually deep.
Yeah.
I got emotional.
Okay. But
What's the question?
Still not paying attention.
Did that?
Which scene stuck with you the most?
Listen, okay. I would say the scene that touched me the most was probably when Katie's daughter visited Daniel Blake.
Yeah.
And it touched me. I don't know why. I started crying. But when she came and knocked on his door, and he wasn't responding, I genuinely thought he had been homeless. I thought he had been kicked out of his house.
Yeah.
And then him coming out, he had like a blanket on top of him, his just covering him, and he just didn't want to respond. And this little girl was there for him, and it just goes to show that, you know, sometimes we need a little bit of humanity when it comes to these things, especially like in this tough sort of environment.
Yeah.
And we see that with Daniel Blake, he's always been there for the family. He puts on heating for them. He literally builds a heating system for them, and he basically helps them set up their home. And he seems like someone that doesn't need much, but that's the moment where this daughter finds out that he's actually also going through quite a lot in his life.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That scene was like quite powerful. I think to this day, I watched this movie like long time ago, like when I was still 17, you know, thereabouts. And the scene that stuck with me the most was the one at the food bank with Katie. And I guess a little bit to your point of like where Daniel Blake, he does all of this to help others, but he for himself, we know he needs help as well, but he won't like accept it. And I think that is something that goes on as well with Katie, where sometimes it feels like there's a shame associated with poverty. So in this food bank scene, they go to a food bank to actually like get food and all of these things. And so while this lady is like actually servicing them, trying to get food for them, you just see Katie, the single mother, just like go off to the side. She just takes like a can of beans, like opens it right there, and like she's starving so much. She's like literally eating it with her hands because she's so hungry. And up until that point, she had just been like prioritizing her kids and making sure they ate. But obviously, the whole time she's just kind of acting like she's fine and she doesn't need the food. But in that moment, she was like, it was so desperate, like she couldn't even hide it anymore. And that's what got me to tears, to be honest. That scene has stuck with me like to this day.
That was quite a powerful scene.
That was a really powerful scene. Okay, my next question then is, we see Katie and Daniel Blake navigate the whole UK bureaucracy system and whatnot. So do you think this movie impacted your perception of that welfare system and how well it actually addresses people's needs?
Yes, because I had an idea of how what do I call it? The complexities of just bureaucratic systems in general, and just how complex these things can be. But I paid little attention to the intentionality when it comes to delaying procedures for applicants. A very simple solution for them would have been to say, okay, Daniel Blake has said he is not fit to work because his doctor said he's not fit to work. Let's get a doctor's note. Let's speak to the doctor. If they really wanted to help, that would have been a very simple solution. Go straight to the doctor. But now you saying that you're going to do an assessment test to make sure that he can actually put his hand on his hat on, that he can walk, that he can see. This man just said he has a heart attack. So how do you expect him to work knowing that he can't cope with that much stress in his life? So this made me almost realize that there's this misconception that people that seek employment benefits are lazy. They just don't want to work. They just want to abuse the system. But it's not always the case. Like, take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, who would wake up one day and say, I just don't want to work for myself, and I just want to be lazy. I don't think it's that simple.
It's really not that simple, and I completely agree with you on that. I think for me, it definitely did impact how I saw it, because if I think back to when I initially watched it when I was younger, I was still thinking, oh wow, look at the UK, they have a welfare system. When people like Daniel Blake, he's not fit to work, he can lean on the state, he can actually seek assistance and they'll be able to help him. But then throughout the movie, like you're saying, you see it almost was like intentional in the way they don't want to help him, because I guess like you're saying, there's that underlying belief amongst many people that people are just trying to take advantage of the welfare system. But that's obviously not true because we see him and Katie struggle to even admit that they need help, even when it comes to like simple things like food.
Yeah, and just to add on there, I think this is quite a touchy subject. It's quite controversial because there are people that would say, no, I've seen people pretend to be sick just to get employment benefits. I've seen people that would it's obviously it's individual, it's down to the individual, and these circumstances are obviously they're quite circumstantial. Yeah, they're circumstantial. But I think sometimes we need to take a pause here and really, really think, like, don't you think that they also have friends that would look at them? Don't you think that, like, okay, let's just say, okay, I'm trying to get government money, yeah? I want free money, I just don't want to work. Don't you think I could potentially have I could want to go on a date and I also want to look presentable? Do you think that money's going to be enough for me? do you think that my friends are going to look at me and also be like, so are you okay? Things like that. Like, there's that stigma that comes with it. So, like, look at it not just like from I want to benefit from the system, but also like the mental health, like surrounding the environment, the social welfare around that person is impacted.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I think, I don't understand where this, I kind of understand where this perception came off. And obviously, yes, there are people that will try and abuse the system, but I think it's just like over exaggerated to make it seem like it's like majority of people that go there or like a huge percentage of people that go seek like assistance are actually trying to take advantage that's not the case at all. I think another thing that you touched on that I think was good is, again, on this thing of like, I thought this whole welfare system was meant to be more benevolent, and even the people that work there, I just assumed we people were very like caring and giving of their time and patient and all this, and that's just like not the case.
It's not the case.
It's not the case at all. Obviously there are some people who are very nice and very helpful, but I think one thing that I thought was interesting is, again, this whole idea of, they probably looked at Daniel Blake and thought, you look like someone who can walk and talk and, operate normally. Then why are you looking for, unemployment benefits and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And it's again a reminder of like, some disabilities are just not visible. They're not visible, and that doesn't mean that someone is less deserving of, benefits.
Preach it now.
So check your biases.
Check your biases.
Yeah. So I very much question the whole welfare system nowadays.
I know people that work in the welfare system, and they do say that there are people that claim that just don't want to be put to work. And I want to also address that misconception here, because they would say they just want to be lazy, they don't want to claim, they don't want to seek employment, they just want to stay home. I personally, this is just my personal opinion, dignified opinion. If someone is really lazy, right, to the extent where they don't want to work at all, just want to rely on the government, then maybe check on their mental health. There could be something even deeper there, because I don't think you do, even in the upbringing and the way as the parents at home, especially if it's like young people, young adults, how were they brought up? Like, what kind of education system are we embracing? Instead of just saying that the population is just lazy.
Yeah. I think this goes back to this whole thing, and I think we touched on it in our poverty episode. These misconceptions that like people who are in poverty sort of choose to be in poverty, and therefore that's why there's also this thing of like, I'm not even bothered to try and work, and that's why it's kind of like a choice, and it's like, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps, go find a job, and you'll get yourself out of poverty. And we know that's just not how it works. My next question is around digitizing everything, because we see a scene where Daniel Blake, like we said, he's told he needs to go apply for job seekers allowance, and to do that he has to do it online. But Daniel Blake is slightly older and he's not very computer literate, and so it takes him a while to even figure out how best to fill out the application, and again he's not keen on asking people for help, so it takes him a while to even ask for help in completing the form. And so that just had me questioning whether or not digitizing everything is always the best, especially these days where it's like, go digital, everything should just be digital, electronic and whatnot. So, do you think digital and digitalizing is always better?
Ah, Edna, with the questions.
Yeah.
You're just making me reflect on one of our episodes we had in season 1.
Oh,
where
throwback.
we said is digital health the future?
Yeah.
And I was very much pro digital
Yeah.
systems. I was very much like, listen, AI, Chat GPT. Okay, it wasn't there back then, but I was very much like, yes, we need to make things better for our healthcare systems. Now I'm just thinking. I remember going to this Southeast London Population Health Conference, and this lady said, I won't disclose the name just for confidentiality reasons, but she said that healthcare systems should be 80% human and 20% digital.
Okay.
We're not dealing with computers, we're dealing with human beings. We're dealing with people. So it goes to show that we need to reflect on the fact that not everyone was born in the digital world. Daniel Blake, 59 years old, he has skills. He has manual skills. He was a carpenter. He was able to cut things. He's very good with his hands, but he couldn't use a computer. And this is just a representation of a population of people that are not able to do that. And just to see him go through the whole CV workshop training and stuff, you're just gonna train him like the same way that we got that same kind of training career advice from, I don't know, in UCL, uni and stuff. You're giving this to a 59-year-old man that has just literally been taken off his employer's allowance. So I think that is very insensitive. I personally don't think that that the healthcare system should be completely digital. I would have thought that if we went digital, we would still keep the human form of things, but unfortunately that wasn't the case.
No, I'm there with you. I like the point about emphasizing that we're still dealing with humans at the end of the day. And I, just like you, I think I was very pro digitize everything, like it's gonna make everything so much faster, so much more efficient for all public services, including healthcare. But then I came across this quote from Bill Gates that I think captures what I thought as well watching this movie. And he said, automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. Automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency.
Wow.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in. This is coming from Microsoft himself. The one who's all about revolutionizing.
Come on, Bill Gates.
But I think it's an important point because, like we're saying, and like we see throughout this movie, the system already, even the human system of it all, is very inefficient, and it makes people jump through all kinds of hoops. So if you just put digitizing everything on that, it's not necessarily going to make things better automatically because it's already quite inefficient. And again, when it comes to digitizing all these things, I think it's important to always consider who might potentially be excluded. It's important to consider that, okay, maybe for some services we can afford to make it all online and digital and whatnot. But maybe for some services that we know, for example, it's predominantly people who may not be very
tech savvy.
Maybe it's better we also still have like both options available. You can do it on paper, you can come do it in person, or if you want you can actually do it online as well. So I think digitizing everything would not necessarily like solve everything. It's not a one size fits all solution to efficiency in the public service.
In the public service, no. Public health, people.
Amen. Amen. Just remember that. Remember that. Okay. I guess as we just kind of wrap up and get towards the end, I was wondering what you thought about the ending of this movie, because it is quite grim. It's quite grim.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had a little spoiler. I knew what was gonna happen. I knew he was gonna, pass away. But I think when Katie giving her speech in the end, that was very sad. Because even though she said in her speech when she was reading out Daniel Blake's in the intended speech for his appeal, he was saying, I'm not just a number, I'm not national insurance number. I was looking at how many people were present at the funeral, and the fact that it was she said it was like the cheapest slot of the day. They found that they just found some spot to put him on there, and the people that were there as well. I'm like, it made me really sad because guess what? They'll just go about their day.
Yeah, it's just another day.
It's just another day. It was just one person that passed away. Obviously, we know his story.
Yeah,
we know his story, but there are many other Daniel Blakes.
Yeah,
that they just passed away, and then we have a funeral. Everybody's sad, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah, I thought it was very sad. The ending was very sad, but it's just one of those things where it's like, not everything has a nice, happy ending. Real life doesn't always have a happy ending. And like you said, he's been going through all these hoops trying to get an appeal for this whole decision about him being fit to work. And when he finally gets a date for the appeal, it doesn't come on time. By then he has passed away. And it's very sad, very tragic movie. But like you're saying, it's the reality for many people. I've seen interviews where some people in government, I won't name them, were claiming this movie is just a piece of fiction and, it doesn't really reflect reality. And I'm like, man, I think it's actually pretty close to reality.
It's a particular brand of people that say such things.
Yeah.
You need, it's, there's one thing, right?
Okay.
When it comes to political issues, right, you can be left-wing, right-wing, that's fair enough. But when it comes to things that affect human beings, people's lives, I think it doesn't take any rocket sciencey type of some human beings to understand that what's happening here.
Yeah.
It doesn't take for you to pick a side here.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
Absolutely. Okay, so maybe to at least try end things on a lighter note, we'll play our classic game. It's only been 2 episodes, but it's classic for me.
Classic. Standard.
Yeah, so we like to give out awards. We assign global health related categories for characters, and then we choose who we think deserves that award. So, are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Our first award for today is the Advocate Award. So this goes to whichever character we think has been championing public health and well-being the best. Who does it go to?
I would naturally go for Daniel Blake because that's the main character, and he really went and spray painted. He went and spray painted an office with his name on it, asking for his appointment. Yeah. That's my natural go-to. But if I want to be a bit more juicy and interesting, you know that guy, that black guy?
Oh yeah, the one that was helping him.
That was helping him. Yeah. I don't think he realized how much of an impact he had on Daniel Blake.
Yeah. I
don't think because he had lost his wife previously. He's widowed. Yeah. He is currently seeking employment benefits. He recently has had a heart attack. He's facing health issues. And when he goes home, who does he spend time with? That's his neighbor. Yeah. So I think sometimes not being so cold to people is not always ideal. So I think the fact that he was there, they were there together, and just to have a good time, I think he was a champion. Yeah,
I agree with those awards, and mine is sort of along the same lines. I was gonna give this award not necessarily to specific characters, but you know how there's that lady at the food bank volunteering who just kind of treats them with just basic human decency, you know what I mean? There's the one lady when he's trying to fill out some online form on a computer, and she's trying to help him out, and that lady actually gets in trouble because she's trying to sort of really help him out and maybe not follow the rules directly. So my award goes to those people because the system in general can feel very apathetic and uncaring to your life, and it doesn't really treat you with the most respect. But there are those individuals in the system that are still trying to do their best and are still trying to actually deliver a public service.
It's not all negative.
It's not all negative. There's some good people in there. Yeah. Some angels.
We call them angels.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the last award we'll do for today is the Health Hazard Award. This one goes to those who are the enemies of progress to public health. People who are menaces.
I think the answer is The answer is obvious here,
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna blame the security guards or like the employees that were there to just do their job.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, the power is in the hands of the state, and if they really want to help, especially with people that are experiencing health conditions, they can ask direct advice from medical professionals.
Yeah. Re-involve them. I feel like that should have solved many of the problems. The man clearly had a heart attack. What more do you want? What more do you want? So overall, how would you rate the movie out of 10?
Out of 10, I would give it a I'll give it an 8.
8. Okay.
8. Oh, it's a bit of a stretch,
Oh.
but I'll give it an 8 because of its efficiency at delivering the message.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much direct. There's not much interpretation to do here.
No.
The message is direct.
Yeah.
Some areas of improvement, I would say probably they should have probably, I think when it comes to issues, particularly social issues, instead of getting fictional characters, it would have been better with factual characters. If people know that it's actually based on a true story, or these are real people's stories, they would pay attention even more. It would have even more of an impact than what it has already. Considering that a lot of people are already facing similar issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point. I'll give this movie 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I think it was like a just really well made movie overall. And to me, the fact that I'll still remember it to this day, even that one scene with KT in the food bank, I think is a testament to just how well made it was. And even though it doesn't follow a real person and it's not like based on true events, I still feel like, I don't know, it's very accurate either way. So I was very happy with the movie, would highly recommend it to any of you. It is a sad one, but I think an important one to watch.
Absolutely. 100%
Yeah.
agree.
I guess that wraps it up for this episode. Thanks again for joining us, our review of I, Daniel Blake. If you had thoughts on the movie, if you watched it, let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you thought of it. How would you rate the movie? Let us know. And as always, like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, which are
at WHI_podcast for Twitter, Instagram, and Small Banter for TikTok. And if you want to follow us on LinkedIn for our professional babes or brothers, I guess, go on Workout Investigation on LinkedIn and Workout Investigation on YouTube. If you haven't clicked the YouTube link already, if you want to see our facial expressions, come on YouTube. That wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
And have a lovely rest of the week.